What's up, guys? I'm back on my channel. I'm going to be giving my thoughts. I'm going to be continuing my new series of me sharing my thoughts on the UH men's basketball season, especially with fall just around the corner and UH basketball's non-conference season. It's just a few months away. Today is July 29th, 2022, and I'll be reviewing the UC San Diego game, which turned out to be a non-conference matchup because UC San Diego is still transferring to Division One, which takes 4 years. So unfortunately, they're ineligible to participate in the Big West tournament. But I will say though, UH, despite having a little bit of weight relief, they didn't show any rust, and that's very important because you don't want to not take things too lightly because that has happened before. Whereas, for instance, UH has fallen to Cal Poly, who's kind of been down at the bottom of the series, and they actually fell to Cal Poly in the 2020 season, but they managed to get 2 wins over them in 2021. And I'll go ahead and say right now that Cal Poly, they got 2 wins over them in 2022, but we'll discuss that in another video. So what we are discussing, as I said, is the UC San Diego game, which was a non-conference game. And it should also be noted that UC San Diego came in with a bit of a depleted state, but they still made the trip, and it didn't matter. So placed in January. Now I'm gonna share my screen here again, like I did the last time. Here we go. You're gonna see my headline, my sub-headline, both fly by UC San Diego. And as it turns out, this is the first time that these two teams pitted off against each other, believe it or not. And as it turns out, and as you can tell, it was a successful one. They won it in dominating fashion, 79-56. But of course, this year it's going to count for conference. And at the end of all of this, I am going to provide a video with where I think UH will finish in 2023. Just a little heads up. So let's go over this here. They shot over 55%, UH that is. And for the first time in conference play, they were under 10 triples, but they ended up with 9, which is still very respectable. They got a lot of guys that can shoot the three-pointer, whether it's Noel Coleman, Junior Madute, Jerome DeRosier, or Jovan McClanahan, etc. And as it turns out, UC San Diego got only 21 field goals buried compared to 35 for UH, and they were held to 4 triples only. UC San Diego, that is. Jerome DeRosier led the way with 18 points and 13 boards. And as you can see right here, DeRosier's third straight double-double, the first player in UH to achieve 3 straight double-doubles. Christian Standhardinger was that last player in 2014, as you can see. And Christian went down as a really legitimate player who can play in the paint. He can play from outside. But overall, he was a great addition to UH when he was here, just like Jerome DeRosier. And I will say right now that unfortunately, we will not see DeRosier back for the 22-23 season. So this season was unfortunately his swan song. But what can you do? But anyway, back to this. As Eran Ganat had said, the one thing I like about this team is how much they support each other. That's important because if they didn't support each other, I don't think they'd be 3-0. But unfortunately, they're still 2-0 because this game did not count for conference because they're still UC San Diego still transitioning to Division I basketball. And you're going to notice in the first half, I put down they were evenly matched. They were at first, and I will say that. But once UH got the lead, they just ran away with it and then some. And they put about 5 exclamation points on that to the tune of a 25-5 run, executing their offense and defense effectively, as I wrote here. And that 25-5 run had lasted over 8 minutes. Now, it should be noted the Tritons were in a depleted state, but that didn't matter to them. Some other players still got some time on the court, and they did put up a legitimate fight for being in a depleted state. And UH ended up leading 41-18 at the break, and it would just go from great to just awesome, let me tell you. But the one thing that I put in this is that UH had 22 rebounds to 8 from the Tritons of UC San Diego. And the one thing I noted is right here. No Triton had more than 2 rebounds in that first half. But this was a surprising one to me as well. Neither team got to take a free throw. And this was just as surprising that the Tritons, no player exceeded 2 rebounds. And it wasn't long ago that earlier in the season during the Diamond Head Classic, UH had every player not exceed 5 rebounds when they fell to South Florida. But anyway, back to this. UC San Diego scores the first basket in the second half, but UH shifted into overdrive and just pulled away from that point on. Tritons were just no match. And what also happened as a good thing, their new kid on the block, Justus Jackson, who's regarded as a great point guard from Arizona, who transferred to here via the NCAA waiver. He earns his first points via triple at the 410 mark and a jump shot at the 120 mark. Now, the only thing that really stood out as a sore thumb is the fact that UH did not bury a free throw in that game. They were held to just 1 free throw attempt, which was a miss by Junior Madut. Now, under normal circumstances, that would be something to think about, but this, fortunately, was not the case. And as I put right here, both teams scored 38 points in the second half alone. And it was just domination once again. And they definitely had a lot of momentum from that turnover-free second half against UC Irvine. And let me tell you, to pull off a turnover-free second half against a team like UC Irvine, which was a team that I thought was going to give UH a lot of trouble this season, that speaks a lot of volumes to UH's effort. And I will say, though, that UC Irvine, they gave UH a lot of trouble in their road matchup when UH went on the road to visit them. But I'll explain that in another video. But there is a good spot for the Tritons. It's their forward, Tony Rochak, has 20 points. Achieved 20 points. And Francis Wakoria was next in line. These two are going to be forces to be reckoned with next season, that's for sure. Because I'll go ahead and say right now that when UH went to verse off against UCSD at their place in La Jolla, they won. They still won, even with the pressure off. As you can see, out rebounded them again. This was also the second of I would say about a stretch of say 7, 8, or 9 games in a row where UH had out rebounded their opponents or tied them in the case of UC Davis, which they ended up losing on the road. That was their second loss of the season, but that's for another video. But as you can see, pretty much everything went for pretty much everything went UH's way. The only thing, though, UC San Diego had 10 turnovers, UH had 13, but they had a big enough lead to where that was afforded. So up next, I'm actually going to be doing a double video on this with the road trip. With the road trips, I'm going to do two. I'm going to cover my thoughts on two games and the two teams they took on. This one right here, Cal Poly Mustangs, first one, and their second road game was against Bakersfield. So we're going to stop sharing here. So anyway, there's my thoughts on that. And as I said earlier, it was a win for UH, 79-56. Now, that score 79-56, that's two or three opponents in a row where UH held their opponents to under 60 points. I'm going to explain that in the next video, why that is significant. But for now, thank you for watching my video on my thoughts on the UC San Diego game. And I'll see you guys for the next game, and I'll see you guys for my next video next week, which will be a double because UH headed on the road against Cal Poly and Cal State Bakersfield. So for now, this is Matthew. Thanks for watching. I'll see you for my next video.